Well, good morning, everybody, on Friday, January 20th, which, as I said earlier this morning in an earlier show, okay, is Inauguration Day in other years. Okay, thanks for being with us today. My name's Larry Jacobs, and this is Pre-K-12 Education Talk Radio. On a snowy Friday here in Maine, we got about 6-8 inches last night, and we'll find out how the weather is in in Washington, around Yakima, Washington today. I'm going to be talking to two superintendents. One of our favorite guests, Dr. Peter Finch, who's the superintendent of West Valley School District in Yakima, Washington, and his high school classmate. I love this. Henry Strom, who's the superintendent at Grandview School District in Grandview, Washington. Those are close to each other, and the gentlemen are still good friends, and they both became superintendents in their respective school districts near to each other. So we're going to talk about the way they've come together, okay, as districts to create a more collective impact for education for rural communities, and I think that's just great. Both of these superintendents are well known at AASA, are good friends over at the School Superintendents Association, so I'm really looking forward to talking to them both, as I always am. It'll be a pleasure to have Henry on and, of course, have Peter back. We're going to archive the show over at ace-ed.org. That's the home website of our American Consortium for Equity in Education. Go over to ace-ed.org. Do it right after the show. Sign up for our magazine. Everything is free. We'd love to send you a subscription. Easy to do over there. Check it all out. We keep all the podcasts over there. We'll archive this one over there as well. All right, our SEL Today about social emotional learning. We have another website about teacher retention, professional development. It's all good stuff. So please, we're real concerned about equity. We know you are too. It's access to education for everybody, which is why I'm so happy we're doing this show today. Please check it out. We do a lot of work. We need your help. We want you to be aware of what we do at ace-ed.org. And without further ado, let me say good morning to my old friend Peter Finch, and then we'll get to Henry. Hi, Peter.
Hey, good morning. We still got some snow on the ground here too, but it's
really?
Pretty cold. Yeah.
What elevation are you guys at? Where are you?
We're leading to the foothills, to the Cascade Mountains. So we get some snow on this side of the Cascades.
Yeah, we're across the country from you here in Maine. I'm in the foothills of the White Mountains. Okay, so it might not be even snowing in Portland, but here in the little town of Cornish where I live, okay, where I can see the mountains if I go to the top of the hill here, okay, it's snowing pretty good yesterday, I got to tell you. Henry, how's the snow out there in Grandview? Henry
Oh my gosh, it's almost gone. I am looking at blue skies. It's a beautiful morning, a little rose and pink in the sunrise. It was a beautiful drive in this morning. And if I may, Shachmaitsky, which is good morning in the Achishkan language. So it's good to be here with you, Larry, and Dr. Finch.
Henry, thank you. And please say that again, will you? Give me that word again.
Shachmaitsky, which means good morning or good day. Yeah, there you go. Good job, Larry.
Thank you. And say the language.
I thought you guys have to say Dr. Finch. That's the first time I've ever heard Henry call me Dr. Finch.
Hey, I got to respect the climate I'm in.
What Indian nation are we talking about when you gave me that? Shachmaitsky.
You got that down, Larry.
I got it, buddy. I got it. Okay.
I'm a member of the Confederated Tribes and Bands of the Yakima Nation.
The Yakima
That's 14.
Nation.
14 tribes and bands. Yeah, 14 tribes and bands of the Yakima Nation.
Yeah, brought together under the Treaty of 1855.
And do they all speak that same language? I know they all speak English, but when the native language, is that all the same?
It's a common language that's understood among the 14 tribes, and even across the Columbia into Oregon with some of the neighboring tribes there. It's a language that's understood commonly.
How beautiful. I got to tell you. That's just great.
Yeah, this is all of Central Washington, Larry.
It's range. So important, man. It's just, being an old history teacher especially, it's just so important. I have to ask Henry a very important question here before we go on about how you guys are working together. And Henry, you went to high school together. How did Peter actually do in high school? Does he still owe a book report? Is that true? Henry, tell us the truth.
Peter, okay, being real here, I remember Peter as a musician, and I believe his dad was a band teacher at the time, or I remember that. I remember Peter played football, and I remember him being an outstanding athlete. I remember him being a leader in the school. I don't think we took any classes together because I'm a year ahead of
He's
Peter.
my elder. He's 2 years. You're my elder, Henry.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But Larry, there are 9 current superintendents in Washington and Oregon that graduated from our high school. 9. So, and Henry is actually the elder of the 9.
Well, what was in the water, Peter? What was in the water that caused
I think it was definitely a message to go and make a difference in your community, and that's Miss Rigdon was a counselor at the middle school and really had that message.
Oh my gosh, you are taking me back. She was a huge influence in my life. She was a Native woman that was, and as a young Native person growing up in public schools, you rarely saw people that look like you. I'm sure you've heard this theme before, Larry. Just the brief intro to your show, I feel like I've got a context of who you are and what you're working on. So to see her and she started a Native American club for us. And actually, there's some students. Dr. Michelle Jacob has done a wonderful job of capturing the impact that work and that Dr. Sue Rigdon had on a number of Native youth in this region. So, God, you took me back, Peter. That was a
and then Henry came back. Henry came back and taught at Wapato. I came back and taught at Wapato. Henry talks about how he had a 4th grade class where 2 of your students now have their doctoral degrees.
Yeah. I was with Michael St. Mary as a young student intern, and Anthony Craig, who's also a cousin. And this is growing up on the reservation. We laugh about it, but it's a reality. Anthony was in my class, and Michelle Jacob. And it's a small world. My son is now dating Michelle Jacob's niece.
There you go.
Oh dear.
And they both have their doctorate. One is at, I believe, the University of Oregon, and one at the University of Washington.
Yeah.
Wow, Ducks and Huskies.
A strong focus on education. Both my parents were music teachers at Wapato. Both my parents were music teachers, and then guess what? My grandfather was the band director, music teacher at Grandview, where Henry is the superintendent.
Are you kidding? Peter,
my dad and all my.
Peter, wait, did you teach music, Peter?
Oh, that's a little secret. I actually, once upon a time, I did teach some general music at 6th grade, long time ago. People know me as a social studies teacher. But
that's what I'm thinking.
With,
but you did teach music. Well, what's your instrument, Peter? I got to ask now that we're into this.
Oh my goodness, here we go. I do play the French horn once a year because my dad is still the choir director at a local church here in Yakima. He started in 1972. That's 50 years. And we do an annual Christmas concert. It's a benefit for Habitat for Humanity. My dad actually got the Golden Hammer Award for Habitat for Humanity for all the fundraising we've done to build houses through music, if you can believe that. And the group has gotten larger over the years with all the grandkids now playing and singing and performing. So, yep,
I'm pretty impressed.
Still sing.
You guys are something, I got to tell you. Go ahead. Keep talking, or Henry. But you were saying something a minute ago. Go ahead.
You're learning about the connections here. We got great connections, but we maybe should pivot and talk about how we've turned those connections into this regional effort to improve outcomes for kids and communities here in the Yakima Valley, because it's been amazing work that's happening across district boundaries, and I think a lot of it is this willingness to work together, and certainly not competing as districts, but working together for the betterment of all the kids in our valley.
Henry, do your districts, are they contiguous? Do they join, or are they?
No. Actually, we're at opposite ends of our region's collaboration. I'm in the lower Yakima Valley, and Peter's in the upper Yakima Valley, and our demographics aren't similar. Peter is in a more affluent community, well diverse. And I'm in a predominantly Latino community.
Yeah, 93% Hispanic, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. And some challenges with finances and such. But man, it's a wonderful, wonderful community. It is a gem. It's a gem.
Yeah.
Interesting, Larry.
What about Native American kids? 93% Hispanic over in Grandview. What about the Native American kids? Where are they?
So Grandview is located on the historical lands of the Yakima people. Yakima people, as Peter said, a lot through central Washington, almost extending up into Canada and down into the farther side of Oregon. We are not on the reservation, and Grandview does not have a large Native American population. Actually, 2 years ago, there was one young Native student, and he was from the same tribes that I am. He's enrolled Yakima and a Nez Perce descendant. And I saw him in the hallway, and I saw his cap, actually, in the large crowd. I looked, and I saw this cap down the road, and it was a Pendleton cap. And I kind of gave him the res head nod, and he looked. And he came over and introduced himself to me.
Redhead nod, I love that.
That's a true story.
The redhead nod. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. So let me.
Larry,
Peter. Wait a minute, Peter.
I was just going to share, Larry, that.
Go ahead. Go. Yeah.
So it is interesting that we do have different demographics.
Yeah.
West Valley is a very interesting district because it is actually it's in the city limits of Yakima, but then it goes all the way west up into the Cascade Mountains. We have some students that have to travel very far in the bus to get down to school because they're like past the Tampico fire station all the way up into the mountains. So it's west. Someone did ask me, where are we in relation to Yakima? Well, it's called the West Valley School District, so we are west of Yakima going up into the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a recent congressional directed spending from U.S. Senator Patty Murray's office that has come to this coalition that we are working on for Collective Impact. That was $1.2 million to expand early learning and food security in the rural areas of Yakima County. So Henry is in the southern, very rural area, and then in West Valley there are some western parts of the school district that are very rural, and that's how West Valley became part of the coalition is trying to do this outreach to these rural areas.
And what about the districts? Wait, guys. What about the districts? Henry, you can answer this. What about the districts in between? How many districts are in this coalition?
So I think this is appropriate given that we're just coming off the heels of Martin Luther King's celebration, right? And he had a dream and a vision. So several years ago, Grandview was approached by Heritage University, and they had developed a relationship with some funders affiliated with Save the Children. And so that program started our work in this region with Collective Impact. So we in Grandview jumped headfirst into Save the Children and got amazing results in a year and a half. And then we're approached to take a look at stepping into Collective Impact work. And it was quite an extensive interview. And then we were asked who we wanted to work with. And so we did choose two districts that are neighboring school districts, and it was more for convenience and wanting to make sure that our first efforts, got off to a good start by working with folks. The vision is that it climbs up the valley, gradually moving and morphing up the region to bring resources to all kids. That's the vision, and I feel like we're getting some traction. Just yesterday in our meeting, 2 days ago, Peter brought quite a team down here to Grandview, and our backbone, who has to be mentioned here, Susie Diaz, who's just an amazing leader.
Amazing.
She already has 3 or 4 grants that are on the horizon that are similar to what Dr. Finch has already mentioned. So it's exciting work and daunting at times.
Fun. It's fun. You just mentioned. I'll throw this to you, Henry. You want to swing it to Peter? You can. Okay. You just mentioned resources for all kids. Okay, and I wanted to ask you what when you say resources, what are the resources? Does it go beyond education? And by the way, I want to mention something else. Okay, Peter, and we talked about this many times where I first met him. He's on the School Superintendent Association, AASA, Early Learning Cohort. Okay, okay? And I know you've been very active in making sure kids get a good foundation, okay? So when we're talking about the resources for all kids that you guys are putting together, okay, with others, what are the resources we're talking about? I'll throw it to Henry, but if you want to throw it to Peter, you can.
Okay, I'll start it, and then definitely Peter can jump in here. So
okay.
I do feel like Save the Children's, one of their early focuses is on school readiness. So their first heavy lift is getting into homes and helping with literacy and school readiness. So that work is what really, I think, first put us on the radar with Save the Children, the national organization, which, by the way, their president, Yanti, has been here in Grandview twice, which I feel like is a good nod that, you know, we're doing something. And we're serving a predominantly Latino community, which I believe SAVE is trying to grow their ability to work in diverse communities, and I respect them for that work. So we started with the in-home literacy, and we did an amazing job. We have tutors that go into homes, and then COVID hit. Resources, I have shared in our region that we had semi-trucks coming in with a variety of goods. We had disinfectant wipes, fans, masks, diapers, food goods, meat, a variety of things coming in. We had drive-through food distributions several times a year, and it wasn't just our community, it was also in Sunnyside and Mapton. Those are the types of resources. And then where I started really getting curious and wanting to do something different, in our region, collective impact is not necessarily a new idea. With leaders like Steve Myers and Kevin Chase, who've led our ESD, we've been working together with the University of Washington for well over 2 decades around this idea of educational leadership. So that foundation's there. And through one of our Zooms, one of the superintendents in the upper side, up in Peter's region, in Highland and Natchez, talked about food shortage and the anguish he had as a superintendent, recognizing that some of his families were going without food when we were in the midst of the pandemic, or food shortage. And here we were in Grandview with these resources, and I thought there's got to be a way to get this to morph and grow so that we can serve more families. Also, a nice benefit has been some mental health support with a local community partner.
Wow.
That's part of our Yakima Valley Partners for Education.
Wow. Peter, want to add anything?
Well, it's amazing work. I think there was a readiness to benefit, like Henry said, because of the work we've been doing for many years as a regional, support and really a focus on improving education, improving the classroom instruction, and doing that together as superintendents. It's the work, with improvement science. Anthony Brick calls it networked improvement communities. And so, we've taken that idea of having learning networks. In our district, we have administrative learning walks monthly, so we have a network in the district. Then regionally, we have the South Central Washington Improvement Network, like Henry talked about, in partnership with the University of Washington Center for Educational Leadership, and that's a regional work. And then I do see the value of having national networks because you can learn about best practices from across the nation. And in this collective impact, when you're an educational leader, I really look at the value of having these partnerships when you focus on the transition points. So early learning, a transition from early learning into the system, and then transition to post-secondary. So partnerships with all the colleges, partnerships with workforce development. When I became district leader, I didn't know anything about workforce development. I didn't really even. I think I knew maybe there was some Department of Labor money that comes into a region, but I didn't know much about it. But there's a whole network for workforce development with the money from the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, and then economic development, which is making the conditions to attract businesses to the region. That's a whole other side of the equation. So just these transition points, early learning and transition post-secondary. And then that's where AASA has stepped in and provided wonderful cohorts through the Leadership Network. Yeah. So I belong to the Early Learning Network. Yes, we have Jed Waters in our district as part of Redefining Ready, which is really looking at post-secondary. And then we have Minerva Pardo as part of the Authentic Family Engagement cohort. And then
Great
even
lady.
our assistant superintendent's been part of the National Instructional Leader Academy. So there's some wonderful cohorts that AASA has done. And then they've added the AASA Learning 2025, and that's with the leaders from the Successful Practices Network. That's Bill Daggett, Ray McNulty, Dr. Robert Peters. And that's really looking at the student-centered, equity-focused, future-driven education where no learner is marginalized. So having part of these national cohorts and then bringing that back to the regional work has been amazing. I think you had asked Henry about the other districts. So it's Mapton is next door to Grandview, Mapton, Sunnyside, and now Granger, like Henry said, is starting to build more partners. Superintendent Granger, Brian Hart, he was very interested in joining this work. So it's pretty exciting. And got to give a shout out to Joey Castilleja down at Mapton, great leader there too. So, having everyone at the table and coming up with, honestly, what is this theory of action? What's the logic model where we can implement strategies to get better outcomes for kids? It's great to be working as a team on this. And I guess the other thing I just want to share is that if people were interested, the Yakima Valley Partners for Education, the website is yvpartnersforeducation.org.
Thank you.
And that kind of shows the cradle to career focus. And the areas are, number 1 is kindergarten readiness, and number 2 is third grade reading, number 3 is middle school attendance, and number 4 is graduation rate, and number 5 is post-secondary enrollment, number 6 is post-secondary completion, and number 7 is employment. So if you have that going in your community, you're going to have a healthy community, and that's what we're looking for.
Absolutely.
Yeah, give me that website again. You said that very quickly, Peter.
Sure.
Slowly give me that website.
Sorry, I kind of talked too fast.
Yeah.
It's
That's okay.
YV, YV as in Yakima Valley. So yvpartnersforeducation.org.
Okay, I'm writing that down. Give me a minute here because I'm a slow typist there. Partners
for education.
Wait a minute, hold on.
.org.
Education.
.org.
.org.
YV Partners for Education.
I'm linking that right here on this when people listen to the show, they'll be able to connect through. Okay, I got it.
And the hub of that
is
Heritage University. YV Partners for Education.org.
Is that a Native American school? Well, I don't know Heritage.
Well,
no,
Heritage University is. Yeah, it's amazing. Their outreach is for underserved populations. It's located on the Yakima Nation. It's in Toppenish, and it's one of only 2 universities in the nation that are designated by the federal government as a Hispanic serving institution and a Native American serving institution.
Yes, and that's been recent work. I've
great.
been affiliated with Heritage for over a decade. I'm on their board of directors, and they have a subcommittee that focuses on working with indigenous populations, and that identifier has been an area of focus. And there's been some amazing growth at Heritage University with graduates that are supported by the Yakima Nation on scholarship, as well as Heritage University, and coming back out and serving community. Peter did a wonderful job of talking about YVPE, and in this broader concept of collective impact, I'd like to shift subtly to some recent work that we're, as a region, embarking on. And it does have its hands in Yakima Valley Partners for Education. And our recent evolution, we've been accepted into Strive Together's national network as well, which is going to bring yet another layer of professional development and resources, which we're learning about currently. So the work that I'm very proud of, and Peter's been a part of this, many districts in our region reside on the Yakima Nation, the boundaries of the reservation, and several on the historical lands. And there's been a movement with land acknowledgments across our country. Sure. And as an enrolled Yakima member, I wanted to figure out a way to be a little bit more efficient and respectful of the sovereignty of the Yakima people and the Yakima tribe. And so we're working on a collaborative where the superintendents in our region are working in conjunction with Yakima tribal leaders to be a little bit more efficient around how we do land acknowledgments. And then there's a curriculum that's been developed in the state of Washington, not necessarily for indigenous people, but it's about indigenous people since time immemorial is the name of the curriculum. And it's a resource for public schools to help educate our community about indigenous people. And so we're trying to poise districts to feel comfortable with a Yakima interpretation of since time immemorial. And so we've had 2 meetings, super well attended. We've had tribal council representatives there present, endorsing, supporting the work, and superintendents in our region definitely rolling up their sleeves, eager to learn. We've had indigenous leaders, some wonderful Wapato connection, Kwasa Sutterlick, who was one of our lead teachers at the December 5th convening, and then also Elise Washings, front and center, and then Dr. Maxine Janice and Dr. Trevor Green, who's Yakima superintendent as well, were all helping out, and Dr. Craig, who we mentioned at the start of the show. It's wonderful work. Also catching the attention of Strive Together, and this is where things really start to get a little bit exciting. There's the Warm Springs people in Oregon, and then there's some tribes down in California, the Klamath, that all are affiliated with Strive Together, and we're trying to figure out how to help Strive find a way to enter into Native communities, and that's early on. And I'm hoping that work is going to bring additional resources into this region.
You know, my wife used to work years ago a lot. She works for public media, but they were doing a lot of work with the Bureau of Indian Education, BIE. Okay, and one of the things, you know, being non-native, okay, she and I learned a hell of a lot about what was really going on out there, which made a lot of it. Everybody's got good intentions, but believe me, things are tough out there if you are Native American. That's all I have to say. Okay.
Can I get an amen, Larry?
Yeah. I don't even know how to say that. And in fact, we were watching this TV show called The 1923, which is a prequel to the Yellowstone series, and the treatment of the American Indian in that show. We just looked at each other. You know, you're just in disbelief. You can't believe this stuff. And I'm talking about 1923, not 1622. I mean, it's unbelievable. Okay, but I'm curious. Okay, since I got you both here, and especially you, Henry, how are the Native American kids doing these days? Okay, are they assimilating easier? Do they see the vast opportunities? This is what you're trying to do. You're trying to get these kids to, you know, be like every other kid and see the vast opportunity for an intelligent group of people. What's the word out there these days? Henry, I'll ask Henry this one.
Larry, can I flip that on you?
Sure.
And I think about your entree into your show and the variety of resources that you have and that you're influencing. The work of equity, I don't believe it's on Indigenous youth to figure it out and to navigate, right? I feel like it's our job as leaders to help our systems change and more, to recognize the strengths of all children, all children. You know, I'm hearkening to. I've been listening to a lot of Martin Luther King speeches, and his dream of serving all people. Right, definitely. African Americans were at the front and center of his work. I feel a kindred spirit there. I feel, if I may, that's my hope. Right. So how are Native kids? I know in our region that we've got several districts that are doing some amazing work with the Achichkan language, and having kids graduate with foreign language recognition in the Achichkan language. Wapato School District, our alma mater, is one of the ones that's doing a lot of work there. Mount Adams School District, I was a superintendent there previously, and Dr. Kurt Gualianoni is there. Elise Washings, who I mentioned earlier, has been instrumental in recent work with Mount Adams School District. Kids are doing better, and yet we have miles to go. You mentioned boarding schools, and boarding schools, that is historical trauma that is alive and well today. As I shared even just yesterday in our WASA SCR meeting, I have relatives, my grandparents on both sides went through boarding schools and had different experiences. Some of them appreciated the learning there, as evidenced in 1923, some of the how do you keep house, right? Those are the benefits.
But the problem was they were trying to destroy your culture. It was absolutely not murderous, but it was It was genocidal.
Absolutely.
In nature.
It
wasn't genocidal in murder, but it was genocide. Well, it was to a certain extent, but it was genocidal at those schools and culture. Okay, they were trying to destroy this incredible culture. Can you imagine teaching a person of native descent how to clean their house? Well, how low can you get? How to sweep. Okay, come on.
Keep going, Larry.
Jeez.
Keep going.
Yeah. It's nauseating. It's
well,
nauseating.
I appreciate Taylor Sheridan for bringing that, because there was a lot of discussion about Canada, right? It's always easy to look at another country and, oh my gosh, the same thing was happening here in the United States
First
of America.
Nations up there.
Yes. And so I appreciate him bringing that front and center, and that is a part of the indigenous experience here in this country. And, it reverberates. I was sharing in our meeting the other day that I had an uncle that was hiding under his bed because he didn't want to be taken to a boarding school, and they took him from under his bed, kicking, screaming, crying, at 7 and 8 years old, and they put him in a boarding school. I mean, those things, though. So it is difficult at times for Native people to come back in and accept public schools. There's a lot of trust that needs to be earned by public school systems in the way that we engage with Native American people. I feel like that's where the real work is, and it's not necessarily all on Native communities. I feel we as public educational leaders, we have an obligation to come in with some humility, apologize for what's been done to Native people in public school institutions, and let's get better, right? As a country, that's our promise, that we're going to raise children and give them full access and opportunity to all of the good things that our communities have to offer and to give back.
Well said, my friend. Well said. I mean, it's an equity question. Everything always boils down to that in this country. Ken Burns said it. He said no matter what you're studying, it boils down to race. He said no matter what you're studying in American history, it boils down to race. It just keeps popping up.
And culture. And Larry, we would be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to an elder who has done amazing things to keep the language alive, the Shishkin language, and that's Dr. Virginia Beavert, who got her doctorate at age 90 from the University of Oregon, served as a professor after that at the University of Oregon, and has continued to keep the language alive with her students now teaching kids in our system. And she is now 101 years old and still going strong.
Yeah.
Does she come in every day?
And there's another elder that's been at the front and center
talk about this. Wait, does she come into school at age 101? Or is it virtual, or what's happening? Who's Peter? That's amazing.
I would say all of that. She supports Dr. Sutterlick at Heritage University, and she works with Dr. Jacobs, or not Dr. Jacobs, Mr. Jacobs at Wapto High School, again, our alma mater. And he
got a Mr. Jacobs there. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, good.
Yeah,
that's true.
I
Roger's
know
a good guy.
She's done something virtually, but she's affiliated with Heritage University.
Wow.
Yeah.
101. God bless her.
Yeah, and she's authored a couple books. I have one here on my desk. This is a great read, The Gift of Knowledge. The Gift of Knowledge, and she's authored this, and it's about her growing up as a Yakima woman in the early 1900s. It's a great read.
Wow.
So, Larry, I like what
Peter.
Henry was saying about it's up to the systems to change to get better outcomes, right? To have more equitable outcomes. And that's why I really appreciate your work, Larry, on the American Consortium for Equity in Education, and the opportunity to highlight, through the awards that you anyone can nominate people for an award and get some recognition for the work they're doing in equity. When in my mind, I'm always looking for 100%, and it is possible. And I've shared that in early learning, we've had 100% of kids at some of our schools to have reading in the spring. They come in maybe at different levels. We're working hard to have kindergarten readiness, but in the spring we've had 100%, and that's been at some of our rural schools, our high poverty schools, 100% of students reading at grade level by the end of spring of kindergarten. And when I was principal, when I was principal, I had a 100% graduation one year, and everyone was making a big deal about it. And I was like, "This is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to have every kid with a vision for their future, what they're going to have an idea post-secondary, what they're doing, why they're here at school. They've got a vision for their future, and they're going to graduate and be successful." So I'm really proud that this year at West Valley High School, we have 100% of our students are taking college in the high school speech. So they're getting college transcript 100% it's through Eastern Washington University. And we know that when students graduate with college credit, they're more inclined and more likely to go to college, and they're more likely to complete college. So we've got to set up our system so that students are going to be successful as they come through our system and be prepared for their next level of learning, whatever that is.
You guys are so good. I must ask you guys. Do you guys know Mary Templeton at Washougal Schools?
Oh, of course. Yeah, she's part of that Learning 2025 network.
Yeah, Mary's great. She's been on the show, and I stole a quote from her when she was on our podcast a few weeks ago, and she said we always did a great job for some of the kids. Now we have to do a great job for all of the kids. Okay, and that's the way she defined equity. I just love that. We're trying to get her to write us an article for the magazine. She's just so terrific down there in Washougal. Yeah. Proudly, I might add, and braggingly always looking at Mount Hood out her office window or something. trying to make me very jealous.
A lot of this is getting outside of your focus of just internally on the district and looking at how community partners can support this work.
Well,
so in our region, we have...
Wait, we got about 5 minutes left. Wait, I got to ask you a question. We got about 5 minutes, and that's about all, okay?
Yeah.
Both of you guys are educators. Both of you guys went into this. You started out as teachers, and you made it up to superintendent, okay? Then look at all the things you have to be aware of. The whole community. This is way beyond, quote, education. What you guys do as a job and what you're doing here is way beyond education. When you were thinking about all this, did you ever think this would be part of what you're doing to be part of this greater thing than just your school, just education, to help people in every aspect of their life? Peter, what's your thought on that? Okay.
A lot of it is that you don't know what. You don't know what you don't know. So the kind of point is like once you understand and once you know something and you become educated, you got to do something with that knowledge, right? There's like a responsibility, I feel. And so when you start getting connected with these other organizations outside the district, like we have Investing in Children as a regional coalition for early learning, and that's not just educators, that's got the whole health and wellness side of it. So, connecting with doctors' offices and all that, that then you can see like the power that you can do working on that side of the transition. And then for post-secondary, the career and technical education, we this idea of working smarter, not harder. So we have a regional general advisory council, and we're all working together to connect with businesses, because if you're going to ask a business to meet with Grandview, meet with Mabton, meet with all these other districts, that's just not going to happen. But if you do it as a regional, working smarter, not harder, then you're going to be able to see amazing things happen. So an example of that is we got these registered apprenticeships happening now that kids can move into. As a senior in high school, you make $30,000 a year for on-the-job training, get high school credit, college credit, an hourly wage. It's just amazing. And then that type of work actually attracts the funders, right? They see that you are organized as a region. We've had the governor send discretionary funds to the region to do more of the apprenticeship work. And then, like Henry was saying, Save the Children has been a great conduit for funding with the Gates Foundation, the Balmer Group, Washington Student Achievement Council. It's just amazing.
Yep. So I would answer, Larry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would answer, Larry.
Go ahead. 2
minutes.
Okay.
No, I would say not in my wildest dream did I ever envision that this is what I would be doing. And man, I wake up every day and I'm like, God, it's a great day to go to work. We sit in community, and I was heavily influenced by Dr. Raj Chawala, the author of Results. And he talked about it's not solely on public schools to educate children, and really helping you sit and understand that, and that's when you reach and engage community. The other thing I would offer, because I understood I have 2 minutes, sometimes we're slow to understand the research and implement the research. heavy research on collaboration through professional learning communities or professional learning teams. I've always believed, and I say this humbly, a good concept in education should be able to walk up the system. So if it's true that the 7th grade math teachers at Grandview Middle School should be collaborating, getting comparable outcomes, the same should be true for Dr. Joseph Castilleja at Mabton, and Brian Hart at Sunnyside, and Brian Hart at Granger, Ryan Maxwell at Sunnyside, that we should be working in conjunction and getting the same results for the children in our region. And excited that Peter has joined us this year. He brings a wealth of knowledge, as you well know, and expertise, and I feel like it's going to help accelerate this growth up our region.
Yeah, but I think Peter still owes that book report from high school. I'm telling you. Guys, we got to go. I
owe the baseball coach some laps because Mount St. Helens flew, and I missed some signs. I didn't, and a third of the baseball team was Stroms. It's all Henry's brothers. Charlie played second base, Greg played third base, and Teddy was out in left field. Thank goodness I was a left-handed first baseman, and there was a place for me, but it was mostly Stroms, I tell you.
A left-handed first baseman. I like it. Okay, guys, we got to go. Hey, listen, you got a whole day in front of you. It's 11:10 here already. I just want to tell you, having you on the show is great, and the work you're doing is terrific. And I'll make sure AASA gets a copy of the show, too. Okay? Peter, great to have you back on. You're always welcome here. You know that. And, Henry, it's great to know you, man. Thank you.
Great. A pleasure to meet you, Larry. I hope someday to meet you in person.
I hope so, too.
All right.
Maybe that'll happen, all right? Have a good day, guys. Enjoy what's left of your snow. It's snowing its bags off here. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Thanks,
guys. Larry. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Henry Strom at Grandview School District in Grandview, Washington, and Peter Finch over at West Valley, working together with all those other superintendents. Great stuff. Okay, and I got to know them through AASA and just good stuff. All right, we'll archive over at ace-ed.org with a big thank you to them and a big thank you to you, the audience. Have a great weekend. I'm Larry Jacobs.